Hi everyone, and welcome to Breck Buzz. I'm your host, Haley Littleton, and today we're going to be chatting with Councilmember Kelly Owens about all things COVID, childcare, and housing. So stay tuned. Hi everyone, and welcome back. Today we are joined with the wonderful Kelly Owens. So thank you for being here with us. It is a little bit of a smoky day, but not too bad today. And we are going to chat about what's been going on with COVID and childcare and housing. So Kelly, what I wanted to first kind of chat about is, from the personal experience, what's it been like being on town council during the pandemic?
Well, I think it's just like everyone else out there. We're all learning day to day and, making decisions that we never thought we'd have to make. It's been, I think, a really hard experience, to be totally honest, because the decisions that we're making for the town, with lots of input from everybody, but the decisions we're making have really big impact. So we're hoping to keep people as healthy as possible. Obviously, our public health department has done a really good job, I think. We have pretty low community transmission numbers, but that's the main goal here, and that comes at a cost for sure. We've had a lot of community members, retail, restaurant, pretty much from every area of the community contacting us, to tell personal stories about how decisions that we're making are affecting them. And some of those are really hard stories. And we just want this community to succeed. So obviously health is number one, but we're trying to be conservative in a way that allows the economy to still move on, which we know has been really great this summer. I think we've done better than we had hoped. And I think we've heard a lot of wonderful feedback about Main Street being walkable. And I think we've had more Colorado visitors, obviously drive-to market, than we had expected. And I think the community has done such a wonderful job of handling that. All the outdoor opportunities that restaurants and outfitters have helped people really get engaged in community, hiking and biking and all the ways that people have pivoted last minute to keep people outside and healthy has been amazing. But obviously we're making a lot of tough decisions now going into the fall and the winter when we either can't be outside as much or people, we just have really reduced capacities inside. So I think it's just constantly on our minds, as it is with everyone. And so that's been something that for 6 months we've been dealing with.
Definitely, and I do feel incredibly lucky to live where we do, that it is easy to get outside and to be able to kind of find that physical distancing in the backcountry and really getting out and enjoying nature, where, people in some places don't have that opportunity.
Absolutely, because the mask ordinance for Breckenridge and, throughout Colorado for public spaces, but I think that has been a game changer for us. We're reading more and more studies now that masks are making a huge difference in community transmission. And so, when we're in those confined spaces, it's so, so important that people buy into that. And I think we've had a lot of good support, both from visitors and locals. Certainly a lot of community retail and restaurant and have stepped up, and really led the charge with that. So we're very grateful for all those partnerships. But then you're right. I mean, you got to get out in the backcountry to get that mask off and just feel some normalcy again and be able to breathe our nice air, although you did mention it's smoky today.
And that's smoky, true. Not too bad, not too bad, not as bad as it has been. Yeah, and would you say, you feel like during this time you've been kind of closer to the community than ever in terms of just that feedback loop?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, right? Because there is no coffee in town and there's way less bumping into people. So there's a little bit of distancing at just the natural flow of information. When people don't like a decision that we make, if you bump into them in town, then they let you know. But certainly, one thing that's made a huge difference for us are the Zooms for council meetings. We've had consistently between 90 and well over 100 people on those calls. And so people have been talking with us back and forth through email, or still some bumping in where I'm still doing some mining with the kids and bumping into people here and there. But I think in some ways we are getting more information and more feedback, but then I think there is some distancing just through the physical distancing and really not going out as much as
Definitely.
we did at one time.
Yeah, because I think it's important to remind people that we're still technically in the safer at home zone of everything that's going on.
Absolutely. And even when you are out in town, I'm staying very much with my family group. And so although I have a brief conversation, I'm 6 feet away from them. And so you just don't quite get that same interaction that we were before.
Yeah, but I can say from the, being on the more social media side, we get messages constantly of people saying that they just felt so safe when they were here. That was really one of the reasons they decided to come to Breckenridge, is because they had been seeing what we've been doing and taking more of an aggressive stance, and they just feel safe when they're here.
It's great to hear that, and we have heard that as well, because we were sort of early adopters of the mask ordinance, and we really felt that it was the right thing to do, both for our frontline employees and for people coming into town. But we're obviously still trying to provide a very high quality experience when people are visiting. We want them to feel safe. We want them to come back. And when masks were a little bit less the norm, I think, we were very concerned about making sure that people understood, here's why we're doing this. We're really doing this to keep our community open, so that you can come back and visit. And I think as it's become more normalized within the nation, and certainly within Colorado, it's been an easier message to provide our both locals and visitors.
Yeah, and that's a great point. And I think pretty soon we're going to be rolling out some more of our mask campaign and messaging. And the slogan is, show your love, don't show your face. There are plenty of ways to show that you love Breckenridge, and one of them is by wearing a mask. So. And that's really going to be critical as we move into winter. And speaking of winter, what are you kind of most looking forward to as we move into winter, and hard to believe, but even 2021, as we move forward?
Well, I mean, what I'm looking forward to is the, ski season, and I think everyone feels that way. I'm certainly a backcountry skier, and I think that we're going to see more people in the backcountry this year. So we're going to have to make sure that our messaging about safety and what's an appropriate, what appropriate areas are to use. We're also hoping for some partnership with the ski area for some uphill use. They haven't announced yet, but we did make it known that we thought that would be a really good direction for them, so we're hoping. And I think that just making it through this as a community is really important. One of the things I'm most concerned about are mental health as we move into the next season. I think getting out this summer, and we've had such gorgeous weather for the most part. We've been very lucky, and it's really created a positive feeling for people despite being somewhat distanced and isolated. And I think it's just going to be so important going into the winter that we're still making community connections, that we're still making connections with our social circles, in a safe way, because we know that people are struggling with mental health, and they have been struggling throughout this there's a lot of stress on families and business owners and people trying to make it work. And I do think that the bad weather is concerning for that. So I think keeping those connections going is something that we're going to work really hard at over this winter.
Definitely, and I know that's been a huge focus that we've been pushing out, is really reach out, check in on your friends, check in on your neighbors, reach out to Building Hope. I think it is going to be something we really have to pay attention to in the winter.
Yeah, and I think, sometimes those people who are struggling can be abrasive or something, but really just being as kind as possible to those people, even when you're on the receiving end of maybe some harsh words or criticism. It's just so important to understand that people's emotions are elevated right now, and for great reason. I mean, there are so many stressors, and so just being as kind as possible when you're in the position to
Yeah.
give a little love is
Yeah.
really going to be important.
As Mayor Eric said, he saw a bumper sticker that said, "Be nicer than necessary."
Yep.
And I think that that's a great thing. And you did mention stress on families, which is something we really wanted to talk about in terms of childcare, because you're very involved in our childcare in town and our facilities and everything. So give us kind of an update. You know, what does this look like for our childcare facilities?
Well, our facilities, pretty much all of the Breck facility, actually all the facilities countywide did close down when all the shutdown in March occurred. But since they've been opened, we've had a huge amount of success. There are all kinds of cleaning protocols and safety protocols and trying to keep with cohorts, you know, same as or similar to the other education programs in the community. But we haven't had much, if any, positive COVID cases in the childcare system. And that's talking like 0 to 5 years old. So they're obviously working very hard, long hours to make that work. But what that does is allows our families to be working and participating in the community, which of course is really important. So all of the facilities are open and they have a little bit of modified hours for cleaning protocols and things like that. But, you know, keeping those open is a very high priority. And one of the ways that we do that is that we've got to have appropriate funding for teachers to stay home when they're sick.
Right.
I mean, that's a concern throughout the system, right, is that we need subs and we need a way to pay folks to stay home when they really are ill.
Yeah.
But then the other thing I think that would help enormously, and we have had several discussions with public health, and it's looking, you know, kind of like maybe this is going to be something that's going to occur soon, hopefully, is a rapid testing.
Yes.
And that would help hugely, obviously, if a teacher knows they just have a headache and they don't have COVID, then they can work, right?
Right.
And if we know that a kid who came home with a sore throat and a temperature just has a sore throat and a temperature, then his whole cohort doesn't have to go home.
Right.
So we're really hopeful about that rapid testing, and we've had some positive feedback from both public health and Centura that maybe that will be coming sooner rather than later.
Yeah, so important, you know, especially as we get into late fall and early winter. There's always just a ton of different cruds and colds and everything going around. So yeah, that rapid testing really would be, because, you know, you were saying it's at some points the teachers were having to wait a week.
Yes, and it has gotten much better. Centura has been a good partner with us. We made it very clear that we were seeing a lot of delayed, 48 hours all the way to almost an entire week waiting for COVID results. And now they're looking at more a 24 to 48 hour turnaround.
Yeah.
So that's helped obviously hugely. I think messaging from the schools as to when kids need to get tested needs to, that's getting clarified. I've been getting emails daily about where to get free tests, and if your kid gets sent home and you can't come back until you have a COVID test, then you need to get tested immediately. So families are really trying to figure out and navigate this new system. But I think as we get better at this and hopefully the tests get faster, then hopefully we'll be able to keep our schools open, and they're working so hard to do that. And there's so much dedication from those teachers that
they're doing an amazing job. And what are the stories you've been hearing from families just about how critical childcare is?
Oh, I mean, I think we all experienced it when everything shut down in March, having both elementary and middle school and high school kids all sent home, and then the childcare facilities, the daycares closed as well. Parents really got a front and center understanding of how imperative it is. I mean, you do some Zoom calls while your kids are at home, but if you're trying to get important things done or you need to leave the house, then it's just paralyzing to have your kids home. So we're very lucky that we have such great partners in the childcare facilities and in the school district, and they're working hard to keep our kids safe and in school. Yeah,
because such a key part of that is making sure that parents can, go to, some parents might be able to work from home, but other parents, have some of those more essential frontline jobs where they need to go in, and it's really important.
Absolutely. And it's just, I mean, everyone who's been on a town council meeting with me has seen my kids pop in, it's distracting. I mean, you want to do the best
part
work.
too. They're so cute. So I can't.
Well, people are very understanding. I have to say that is something positive that's come out of the pandemic, is that people have really had to say, sorry, my family's home, or this is, and I think that there's a more well-rounded view of what their lives are like. Mm-hmm. And so hopefully we can take that into the next step after the pandemic and, and grow from it. So that would be great.
Yeah, because what is kind of on the horizon for our childcare program?
I mean, we had to put some studies on hold. Mm-hmm. Those were studies that were sort of identifying where we can fit some of these kids. We have over 200 kids on the wait list for our facilities. So we will be looking at how we're going to help assist those families. People are taking off, they're underemployed, or not having any family time because they're switching back and forth in order to cover their children. And of course, family time is great, but also we want to be able to support those children and those families with childcare should they need it. Mm-hmm. So we're going to be continuing to look at where we can expand or where those kids can get in, because we do want to serve those families. That wait list has gone on for years.
Yes, so. Definitely a key element. And I don't know if anything's really solidified yet, but we are going to continue to look at more options for funding, right?
Yes, absolutely. And actually, there will probably be an education campaign coming out within the next year. Mm-hmm. That's just going to talk to our voters about, here's why it's important, here's what we're hoping what kind of support we need to get from you. And so that will be up and coming, like I said, definitely within the next year, probably within the next 6 months.
Yeah, and something that was just so critical to success when it came to housing, which I don't know if we've really talked a lot about on this program, is our rental assistance program that we're able to kind of quickly put together. So maybe share a little bit about what that looks like.
So the housing situation in Summit County has really been difficult since long before the pandemic. Yeah. But we did realize, and all of the communities in Summit County realized what an issue this was going to be, with people immediately needing to stay home in March and with businesses not open. So we provided money to the FERC, who was able to take applications from individuals and businesses and help out with some rental assistance, make sure that people weren't forced to leave when we wanted people staying home, right? Right. So, and that's hopefully made a big difference. We've heard a lot of good feedback from different individuals and businesses, and hopefully it allows us to ramp up with both employees and with businesses in town when things are opened up again. We did see that certainly in April and May when we opened up. There were lots of people ready to work and ready to open up for visitors. So we were very grateful for that. But of course, we're going to face probably some more hardships in this fall and winter. So budgets are very tight. The October we'll be looking at the Breckenridge budget, yes. And it will certainly be more difficult budget than in 2020. Mm-hmm. So, but that's certainly at the forefront of all the council members' mind, is how can we help the individuals, employees, how can we help people stay here?
Totally, because we need them to stay here if we're going to ever fully reopen. And
absolutely. Yeah. And they are the fabric of the community. Totally. Yeah. The people who have been here for a long time, all the way up to people who've come last winter and skied all winter and enjoyed this beautiful summer with us. Those are great people that we want to keep here, and we want to provide a high quality experience to our guests. And those people that have knowledge about the area are really wonderful for us to continue to support.
Yeah, and while not totally housing, we've also been able to provide rental assistance for businesses to help them stay in their buildings too.
Yep, exactly.
Which is very important. And we are still kind of, as always, as Breckenridge does, continuing to look on the horizons of housing. And so we've got several kind of projects we're working on: Block 11, McCain, some potential micro studios. So there's always something sort of in the hopper that we're working on.
Yeah, this council's really supportive of both housing and net zero projects. So we're trying to make a lot of our housing, it helps the people who are renting because they have lower costs,
Right.
utility costs. But we're also very excited about that being the next chapter for Breckenridge, is to really lead the way into being representative of the new technology that's out there that can really help curb climate change and have an effect. And we believe on our council that we have a great effect far beyond our small community, because we have lots of visitors coming here. And I think that when they see something exciting going on, our composting program's really taken off. We have thousands more houses that are using that thanks to HC3.
Yeah.
And so some of those climate action issues are really putting out a new information far beyond what our community is. Our small community.
And what's so cool about all the new housing projects that we're looking at being net zero, it's also, having our employees live in town and not need a car and taking, green commutes or alternative modes of transportation, that also really makes a huge difference.
Absolutely. I mean, transportation is the #1 issue that we have in Summit County. Not really necessarily from commuting around Summit County, but people coming up from the Front Range. But this is a great place to start. And as it works out, and there are maybe even the potential to not have a car in Breckenridge would be really cool. So we're certainly hoping to support that.
Yes, we are always trying to get cars off of the road.
Yes, for many reasons.
For many reasons, always trying to get cars off the road. And I think the last thing I'd love to just chat a little bit about is, we look at housing kind of from this macro view, but it also being an issue of equity, that all different types of people and background and socioeconomic situations can be able to live in Breck, and that be something that, is accessible. And I'd love for maybe just give a quick update about kind of this equity focus that we have now.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because it's really exciting. I mean, obviously, anyone who's paying attention to the news understands that this is a really exciting time. Not that there hasn't been lots and lots of decades of time that we could have made a big impact and improved the equity of our communities, but this is a national issue that's really at the forefront, and so it's great that we can sort of be participants. One thing that the town of Breck is doing is we're working with a consultant that's looking at some of our different programs and saying, hey, how can we open this up? How can we make sure that different races, different people with different needs are all represented in our community and really feel like they have a voice and a space here. And we're thrilled about that. We're going to be working with them through the childcare program, definitely through housing, but also I think that there are going to be a lot of ideas even for partnerships with private businesses that might help lift up community members that traditionally haven't felt like they've had a voice or been able to have that stepping stone.
Yeah, I think it's so exciting, everything that is going to come, and it's definitely going to be, how you eat an elephant one bite at a time. But I think council has really taken that long view of this is going to be a marathon and something we're committed to, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's really important that we are that we don't do anything just because it sounds right at the moment.
Yeah.
We want to do what's right for our community and the folks that are already here, and then also open it up so that even more people can appreciate this beautiful community.
Totally. There is enough Breckenridge for everyone, or at least that's what we're working towards.
Yes,
so,
that's what we want to work towards.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been great to just hear about all of the things that, despite the pandemic, there's still just some amazing things going on in town. So thank you for your time.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure. Thanks for all the work that you do to get our messages out about being kind and wearing masks, and hopefully we can go into this winter and weather it as well as we did this summer.
Yes, agreed. Well, thanks everyone, and we will see you next time.